Thank you for coming to meet. You are part of the school-based team. We weren't able to get everybody in today because it's a really busy time. This week's been quite busy, so I appreciate you coming. I wanted to talk to you about Level B assessments. I did a few Level B assessments on a student at our school. This is student I. I'm going to call her student I. She is currently 9 years old, and she is in grade 3 French immersion at our school. So the reason for the referral that, or the Level B assessments that I have done is for training purposes only. I'm learning how to do Level B assessments. So this is a student based on her file. She is currently meeting all academic skill levels, are within range, they're all proficient, and they have been since kindergarten, with the exception of English languages, which she is currently working at developing. Okay, so again, this is a early French immersion student who started explicit instruction in French in October. In English. So her family information: she is one of 3 children in a family with a single mother. She has a twin sister. She does not have much contact with the father. He's dealing with his own personal issues. She has a really close-knit family. She is quite close to her aunts and uncles and cousins and grandparents, and has a good group of friends. She doesn't seem to have any issues with any she doesn't have any medical concerns. Her mother stated that they have had regular eye checkups. She doesn't require glasses. She had hearing testing done.
Often twins are premature?
No, she was not premature. She was born at 39 weeks. There was no concerns with pregnancy, and she didn't have any issues after birth. She was a healthy infant and toddler who reached all of her appropriate milestones, and she was born at 7 pounds 8 ounces, and she's quite a tall, healthy child as is. She is a left-handed child, but she does show ambidextrous qualities, so she will play sports, for example, using her right hand, so she will favor one hand over the other with some activities. Okay, so that's background. So she has attended the same elementary school since kindergarten, being in French immersion. Her attendance record is quite good. She only misses on average 1 or 2 days of school a year. Currently she's only missed 1 day of school this school year. She's in a grade 3-4 split classroom this year. She did attend preschool for 2 years, and the district also offers a Ready, Set, Learn program, and she partook in that while she was doing preschool as a little boost. She really likes school. She's got a great social group. Her teacher also says that she's very social, and really enjoys having a good friendship group and loves coming to school. Okay. One concern that her classroom teacher had was that even though she has great ideas, a strong imagination, and her writing will show details and description, she's working on her English spelling, and the teacher has noted that there has been improvement since October, since her English spelling has started, so there is growth there, but it's still a little bit behind, and so that's something that the teacher's been noting, and the mother has also noticed this as well.
Which is common for French immersion students?
Well, I would think that for somebody who is just learning that the basic phonics skills in English, when they just had that explicit instruction starting in October, it wouldn't be surprising. So she does have all of her sounds, but she doesn't know a lot of those more challenging rules and the those breaks.
And she just started English instruction in October.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, so at school she seems to have a really positive attitude. She really wants to work hard at home. Mom says that her behavior is a little bit different than what the teacher has stated. She does tend to have angry outbursts when things don't go her way or if she's feeling ignored. She likes being the center of attention. And she is quite passionate about getting things done, but if things don't go her way, she can be quite dramatic. Okay, so I've chosen 2 level B assessments for academics, and because of the concerns that Mom talked about with some of the behavior, I also chose a DESA assessment, which is something that we've done at the school level already in classrooms and across the board with the school, and it ties into the Second Step program as well, which a lot of the classrooms have been instructing in. Okay, so the first assessment that I did was the PBVT4. It's a Peabody Picture Vocabulary Test, the 4th edition. So it's an individually administered norm reference measure of receptive English language vocabulary for standard American English or Canadianized English. It's for students that start at the age 2.5 until age 90 up. It compares students to similar age. So what it does, if we are looking at 100 kids, this kid and 100 would be scoring at the top, and this kid down here would be scoring at the bottom. Okay, so if we took a group of 100 kids at the same age, we'd line them up. That's what that means. Okay, so a score of 130 more would be considered an extremely high score, and under 70 would be an extremely low score. Student I received a standard score of 101, which puts her in the high average score. So if I am looking at the curve here, and this is here, she would be right about there. Okay, so what that means is, I'm just going to flip. I just want to make sure that I've got the exact information so what I'm telling you makes sense. Okay, so her standard deviation, this is her mark for standard deviation, is between here and here. So she's just a bit above average in terms of her information. So she's within the average range of her age and as well as her grade level. She has a good understanding of nouns, and she's able to name most attributes and good understanding of verbs. Okay.
Yep.
So that's going well. So then the next one that we did. Oh, and the basal and ceiling. So she started, the basal and ceiling, it means basal is where you start at for your age range, and she started at that range. She didn't need to go down any further. So she did well with that. Okay, the next assessment that we did was the KT3, which is a little bit more intense. So this is again another level B assessment that individually measures, it's got a norm reference measured, it's individually administered, starts for pre-kindergarten, goes to grade 12. There are 6 subtests in here, and what I've done here, this is the 10-point graphic profile scale, and we're going to look at this part down here. Okay, so these are the battery skills tests, the composites. So it's got 6 tests. We've got composites are the 3, so the written, the math, and the reading. In the reading composite, we've got letter and word recognition, then reading comprehension, math computation in math composites, as well as math concepts and applications. And then in the written language composite, we are looking at spelling and then written expression. Okay, so
Yep.
the results of the subtests are expressed in standard scores, representing again a comparison to similar age
Mhm.
children. So we're taking a group of the population and measuring them against how student I in this did. So overall, if you look at the overall academic skills battery composite, she scored an average of 91. So if we look at overall with all of this as a summary, she scored about right here.
Okay.
So she's not quite below average, but she's still within the average range. Okay. So if we look at the reading composite, she's scored here, 91. If we look at the math composite, she scored here at a 92. And if we're looking at the written language composite, she scored at a 94 on average. So
Okay.
if you're looking at, as a summary, the composite is like an overall of each section. She's still considered within the average range, but more on the lower end. Okay?
Yep.
So far?
Sounds good.
Okay, so if we look even further at the subtest, at the reading composite, so we'll look at the, oh, thanks. We're looking at the composite interval, so we did a 90% on this confidence interval, so it's a standard deviation. So a standard deviation means if there's something maybe that's throwing her off or throwing me off or something that's
Yep.
off, so there's a bit of a buffer. We call it
Yes.
like a buffer, right? So if, for example, she's feeling under the weather,
Yep.
she might not have scored as well. Or if she didn't sleep very well, if she doesn't have that full confidence level, her scores could have differed slightly, but it would still be within this grouping. Okay, so her composite is here is 87 to 95. Okay, for her reading composite. For her math composite would be 88. Oh, it's hard to look upside down on this, so let's say about 88 there to 96, about
Okay.
there. So you can see the kind of the buffer,
Yeah.
right? And then down here is 91 to about 97. So you can see the range in there. So
Yes.
even though she scored in here, it's possible if she took the test at another state, she could still
Plus or minus.
plus or minus in within that range. Okay, so here we go. So on the lettered word recognition test, we'll start with the reading part. She was required to read regular and irregular words. She read common sight words, two-syllable words, diphthongs, R-control vowels, digraphs, consonant blends, irregular words with syllables and accents. It was interesting. She was sounding out a lot of words in French, especially when they became more of a three-syllable word,
Right.
or words with
Unfamiliar words.
or words that had multiple rules kind of
Okay.
in there. So she performed within the below average range for that. So for letter word recognition, she was confidence 83 is what she scored at. And so that's where she was. Oh, no, sorry, 87. Oh, it's a good thing I checked. There she is, she's 87. So this would be her confidence interval would be 80 to 91. So she'd be within that range. So that would be her
And you used the
Right there.
90% interval?
90.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so for reading comprehension, she scored 97%, which is right here, and let's see, 90 to 104 would be that range, that standard deviation. Okay?
Yep.
Okay, so math compilation, 90 is here. Oh, so reading comprehension. She had to read comprehensible reading passages and answer comprehension
Yes.
questions, right? They're designed to be gender balanced when
Oh.
with the answers. The way that assessment is designed is it's a little bit more challenging to give a wrong answer. okay? So she had to sort of pick. So it kind of helps you avoid that guessing part. So she was able to read and respond to the questions. She would reread the text to help with understandings before she would answer the questions. In this part, she actually got a little bit flustered, and she asked if she was being timed. So when I told her that no, she wasn't being timed for this one, she actually slowed herself down and worked a bit harder on this. She did not do that for the letter and word recognition
Did she
part.
need a break?
She did. She needed breaks throughout.
Yep.
So so we that could be an issue. Anyways, so she performed within the average range here, right?
Yep.
Okay. Math composite. So in the math composite, so this is where she was on average. Math computation, she needed to answer a number of problems with increased complexity. So we're looking at numeration, basic facts, computations with 0, fractions, decimal, algebra, roots, exponents, sine numbers, factors, binomials. She became very, very frustrated and anxious as the math problems became harder. So they start off quite easy, and they get harder with each time. She also became really frustrated because she started to get upset that she wasn't being taught this in school.
Oh.
So she wanted to know why her teacher hadn't taught this to her, and it upset her that she felt like she was supposed to know the answer and didn't have that answer. She actually got quite anxious, and she needed to take some time to self-regulate before moving on. However, based on what I know of the grade 3 information, she was able to answer the grade 3 curriculum information correctly and with little issue. So that being said, she scored 90 in the math computation part with standard deviations between 83 and 97 in there. Okay. So math concepts and applications is the other one. She had to answer questions that focused on reasoning and mathematical concepts. And she worked with a pencil and paper, and she had a booklet that she had to work in. So she looked like she was a little bit more confident working with a pencil and a paper than when she was doing it orally. And she was using her booklet to actually to do some of the strategies that she knew about. So she drew herself a number line at one point, and she was drawing pictures to help her with her understanding. Again, though, she became really anxious when she was presented with things that she hadn't learned in class. So here she was at 97. That's about right there. And she was 90. Wow, this is hard to look upside down. 92 and 101 is about the standard deviation right there. Okay? So then we go into the written language and composite part. I'm just going to flip back and forth between the two paper. Okay, so the spelling portion, she was required to spell words using phonetic principles, and she had to be mindful of letter patterns and sound relationships. Here, she scored a 79, which was borderline between low and below average.
Which again, you had talked about French immersion.
Yeah. So that was 96 there, and 82 about there.
Yep.
Okay. This one, the next one was, okay, so the spelling one as well, she was spelling everything phonetically, but she was missing a lot of the sounds. Like, for example, the word could, C-O-U-L-D, she spelled C-O-O-D, could, right?
Yeah.
So she's got the O sound in there, the D sound, so it's a lot of the sounds, but she doesn't have the rules in place.
Yes.
Right? Okay, so written expression is the other part. This one, I'm going to tell you straight out because I'm learning this. I don't know if I did this right. This one I found hard to do. So this was...
The written expression is really hard to...
Yeah, I found this one really hard, and I think that I need more training in this one.
Yeah.
So this one, I don't know if you can put that in the right section. She scored a 101. with a standard deviation of 92.
Mm-hmm.
2, and this one's got the standard deviation is quite big, and I
Yes.
think the reason why is because a lot of people make mistakes in that,
Yes.
right? So, so she had to read conventional reading passages and answer comprehension questions, but it's kind of, no, not that one. She had to use, it had a storybook format, and she had to follow characters through situations, and some of them had speech bubbles, and she'd have to look at the pictures and hear what I was saying to her, and she'd fill in that
Yep.
information, okay? So, and there's also an open-ended essay at the end where she can retell story events, and she's allowed to go back into the book.
Okay.
She can go back and look at them and then add them. So what we're looking at here is not spelling for this one. We're looking at complete sentences, things like correct verb tenses, content, quantity, punctuation, capitals, complex sentences, things like that. Okay, so she had complete thoughts, she had descriptions in her writing, and had an understanding of different types and uses of punctuation. She liked to use exclamation marks, she knew how to use question marks. She knew when it was a speech bubble and she wanted them to be excited that using an exclamation mark would make it more impactful, so she had a lot of stuff here. So based on that, she's working within the average range.
Okay.
Okay, so now we go into the DESA assessment. The DESA assessment is slightly different. Oh, it's slightly different. So, okay, I'll try to go fast. So this is social emotional competencies, and this is only from kindergarten to grade 5.
Okay.
This is I only picked this because this is something that we've done in the school already, and because of the issues that were happening because it's something that was happening in the school system, and there's some emotional components to when I was testing her, she was getting quite upset and flustered,
Yes.
and it was also being spoken about by her mother. Okay, so this is something that the teacher actually fills out, not her, and she scored in this range right here. Okay, so she's in the high, well, it's like the high average.
Yes.
And so even the teacher said the way that the assessment was actually done, the description of the DESA is very frequently or frequently. The teacher had a difficult time describing what very frequently meant, because she felt like teachers don't always, children cannot be very frequently doing something all the time, that sometimes they flounder. So she gave her mostly 3s, which put her into the above average sort of range.
Right.
Okay. Which made me reflect that this child is very capable of being self-aware of her emotions, but perhaps that she being asked to perform repetitive tasks and knowing that she's being tested on her current intelligence level was a little bit overwhelming and stressful for her as well. Okay?
Which now you can use that.
And now, yeah. So, and I think that after this, it really made me reflect on that kids, even though, for example, the KT3 can be done in 90-minute blocks, I don't think that it should be. I think that it should be done, and you really should be paying attention to what the kids are doing and how they're feeling and how their body language is, and maybe you should only do one subtest at a time and give them breaks between, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so overall, she's a 9-year-old girl in grade 3. What I have said, I'm not really concerned about her. I'm not asking for a level C assessment or any more level B assessment. The only thing I would say my concern might be is in the spelling, where she's scored between in the below average low range. However, part of it could have been her frustration. The way that she was printing when she was doing her handwriting was all over the place. It would be tidy 1 minute, then she would get frustrated and write really big the next minute. She might not have been putting her best effort forward either with that, and she could have been done. Right? However, also because she's just recently had explicit instruction in spelling, which I kind of think you need to have with a lot of these more challenging words and rules. It's not something that you can just learn how to do through osmosis.
No.
And she hasn't started a spelling program until October this year.
Yes.
So my recommendations are: no level C assessment, no further level B assessments at this time. I will share this with the classroom teacher if she's interested, and with her mother if she's interested. But I think that we should continue to provide ILO with spelling programs in the classroom, but the spelling program should be rule-based, right?
Yeah.
We're looking at that. And including on digraphs, blends, vowels, vowel clusters, R, inflections, things like that. She should continue to read daily in English.
Yep.
Possibly the mother can be doing some things at home as well, right? for taking her, joining up with the summer library program that's
The reading
offered to
challenge,
this,
yeah.
through the city, and possibly give her some technology to work on her spelling with, typing out good copies or texting, emailing, things like that. Yeah,
Well, thank you for your rundown of the assessment.
yeah,
It was really nice how you had the paper and I could see right on the curve where she was. And it sounds like, yeah, it was a
okay,
good
well,
job.
thanks so much for taking your time to do this.